Welcome to Coal Nation, the official podcast of the American Coal Council. Join us as we dive into the critical conversations shaping the future of coal. From industry experts to policymakers, we're exploring coal's essential role in America's energy, economy, and global trade. Whether it's powering communities, driving innovation, or securing strong global economies, coal is at the heart of it all. ACC, proud to be American, proud to be coal. Coal Nation starts now.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Coal Nation podcast. I am Christian Palich, the 2026 president-elect of the American Coal Council and vice president at Eagle Summit Resources Coal Company. And it's great to be with you today, joined by my good friend, Travis Deti, the executive director of the Wyoming Mining Association. And good to have all of you listening today. We're going to talk some coal, have some fun, and we're kicking off the Miami Coal Forum today here in beautiful Miami in February. I'll tell you what, Travis, yesterday when I landed, the 70-degree weather. It's been 11 degrees in Ohio. What's it been like in Cheyenne where you live?
Well, it was actually kind of, when I got off the plane, I didn't know whether I'd gone from point A to point B because we've had a very mild winter in Wyoming in the Rocky Mountain West. But we're really pleased to see everyone actually having winter. If there's one thing the coal industry loves, it's high gas prices and cold weather.
Yeah,
and
sure.
we've been having a very good year so far, and looking forward to this conversation to talk a little bit about what's happened over the past year. We've had about a 180-degree shift from where we were about a little bit over a year ago. These are good times right now, and we got to keep making hay while the sun's shining.
Yep. That's right. Yeah, as a farm kid, I love that analogy, making hay while the sun's shining. It's very similar in the coal business for sure. But I'll tell you what, talking about the weather, I mean, it's very cold where I live. My kids haven't had school multiple days because of negative temperatures in the Midwest in Columbus. But it's good for the coal burn. We're shipping a lot of extra Wyoming coal because of those uncomfortable temperatures. But I will say it is very nice to be in this temperatures here in Miami. But Travis, you brought up a really good point. I think we want to start by segueing into that. 2025 was a heck of a year for the coal industry, right? So we always talk about elections have consequences. We saw a huge election in 2024, swept in President Trump and a really pro-coal Congress. We saw a lot of great things happening. So Travis, you brought it up. So I'll kick it to you, Wyoming coal. Give me like the top 5 things you think really made a difference in 2025 for Wyoming.
Yeah, absolutely, Christian. And, one of the things that I always bring up when we're doing our work at the state level with our state legislature is the public policy matters. And for the last decade and a half, we've heard all this nonsense about an energy transition and coal is dying and it's market deciding. Yeah. Well, that's bullshit because public policy means something. Yeah. And, with the Trump administration coming in, we've seen a 180-degree shift in public policy. And, lo and behold, now coal is doing pretty well, and it's necessary, and it's needed. And it's just very refreshing. I think a lot of the work that credit you, Christian, and our friends at the National Mining Association and the Wyoming Energy Authority, working this summer over the big, beautiful bill. One of the most important things, I think, was your work on getting the federal royalty rate reduced.
That's a big deal, yep.
Because, the coal that comes out of Wyoming that powers utilities all over the country, it's all federal coal. We're at a really important point in time right now to where if we're going to remain competitive, I mean, we're not operating in 2005 or 1998 anymore. The market has changed a little bit. And I think what we've done at the federal level with the royalty rate reduction, at the state level with the severance tax reductions, we've made coal competitive again, Wyoming coal competitive again. And, that was frankly, and having the allies in Congress, in the state of Wyoming to make those changes, 2025 was a great year for us, let's say, and public policy matters, and we're seeing that right now.
Yeah, it does. Those are all great points, Travis. To the point on the federal coal royalty, as a company that proudly operates 2 very large mines in Gillette, Wyoming, it matters so much to us. We have an antiquated tax system in the coal industry, right? Like we've seen this, and there's still many we need to fix, but that was a major one, the one big beautiful bill, the coal leasing, and just in general, Travis. I don't know what you're hearing back in the state of Wyoming, but having an interior secretary like a Doug Burgum and an EPA administrator like Lee Zeldin and an energy secretary like Chris Wright just talk about our industry. Just even the tweets and the social media posts where they're talking about how we matter to America. We're seeing the Wall Street Journal write op-eds about how coal's keeping us warm. And that's Wyoming coal. It's coal all over the country. But, you know, your state being the largest coal state, all of this stuff changes the perception of the industry. And what are you seeing back home here?
No, and you're absolutely right. When you see those big media outlets, when you have a voice from the White House talking about the importance of the coal industry, I mean, especially, you know, you look at the last big winter storm that we had, and, you know, coal delivered once again. You know, when the wind doesn't blow and the sun doesn't shine, our friends in the renewables aren't producing energy. And every time we have a big winter storm in this country, coal is what steps up and delivers. You know, you look back, you know, a few years back to the big winter storm in Texas where people died. People died.
It's really sad.
And the one that coal delivered, but you didn't hear that story that much. Now you do. So, you know, having that bully pulpit and having advocates in the White House and in Congress, it matters. And, you know, people need to know that, you know, when you turn your lights on, when your furnace is running, when the weather is bad, that coal is the backbone of your of where that power is coming from.
Absolutely.
And I think we're starting to do a little bit better job of getting that message out. And again, it doesn't help when you have the President of the United States saying, you know, here's what's keeping you warm this winter.
No, beautiful clean coal is the president.
Beautiful
I won't
clean
do
coal.
a President Trump impression on here because it's not good, and I don't want to be on the record doing that. But you can do it in your own head. The beautiful clean coal that he talked about. Many of us were with him in April when he signed many of these executive orders early in his term at the White House, and it was really awesome to see coal miners in with him. I know we've talked about that on other podcasts, but it was a great 2025 in review. We can't. As a Wyoming coal operator, we are very excited, and we're very excited about 2026. That's where I want to kind of segue a little bit. You've touched on some things. You're in the midst of a legislative session in Cheyenne. You have a short kind of legislative session. So tell us a little bit what you're looking at in Cheyenne at the state level, maybe for those listening across the country. What are you looking at the state level? And then what are you looking at as the federal level, too, for Wyoming coal in 2026? Give us a little preview.
You know, that's a really good question. So our legislative session in Wyoming, we're in a short session this year. It is a budget session, 20 days, to focus on the state of Wyoming's budget.
20 days, wow.
Yeah, focus on the state of Wyoming's budget. And there's we've got this political dynamic where, you know, we've got one set of politicians going against another, and they're arguing about the budget. But I think what we're kind of focused on, and getting down in the weeds a little bit. So, you know, Wyoming, the people of Wyoming pay very little in taxes, and what they do pay largely is their residential property taxes. So what we've seen in the last couple of years is this reduction in property taxes, and it's put us in kind of a position to where when you take that money away from, and it funds our counties and towns, when you take that money away, you still need to fund your local governments. And so automatically, you know, the focus goes, how are we going to do it? And it turns to extraction. It turns to coal, oil, and gas, because that's what pays the bills. So our concern, I think, is, you know, as you're giving tax relief to the citizens of Wyoming, and you still need to make up and pay your bills, we really don't want to go back to where, we can just turn to our traditional core industries. We can turn to coal again. And like, as we talked about earlier, we made some good tax reductions. We make us more competitive. We don't want to see them, you know, say, we've got to backfill this, so we're going to raise your taxes again. And so that's kind of our concern right there.
Well, to your point, Travis, it's not 2000 anymore. You can't balance budgets on the back of our industry. We actually have to we can produce more, but we have to get rid of this antiquated tax. So that's a really good point, Travis.
That's kind of what we're looking at the state level. You know, federal, I think, you know, we continue to move forward. You know, there's some exciting things happening right now. If you would have talked to me, you know, 2 years ago, and you would have asked, well, is anybody looking at putting on a new coal generating unit? I'd say, you know, no, not right now. Things are not going. But we're actually talking about that now in Wyoming, up in the Powder River Basin. At one of our utilities is actually doing a feasibility study of building a new coal generating unit.
Amazing.
And I think, you know, it starts in Wyoming, but, you know, nationwide, utilities are going to be looking at coal again. And it's really refreshing to be in that position again. You're seeing the Trump administration take a very hard look at solving the problem of exporting our coal. And I think we have some real opportunities about moving, the Powder River Basin in Wyoming. It's one of the largest coal producing regions in the world. Our coal is excellent. Low sulfur. And if countries are serious about, we all want to use coal cleaner. We all want to make our energy cleaner, and Wyoming coal fits the bill. And we have allied countries across the Pacific that want to use our coal. We just have to figure out how to get it to them. And this is the first administration. I'm with the Mining Association in Wyoming, going on 16 years. Geez, I'm getting old. But this is the first real time where you've had an administration taking a look at how do we crack that nut of getting our coal past the big green wall on the West Coast and getting it to some of our allies and potential customers over the Pacific and on the Pacific Rim. So it's really exciting. And the one thing that I would say in some of the meetings that we've had with the folks in the administrations, they're serious.
Yeah.
They're serious. It's not just talk. And that's really refreshing. And, the opportunity is there. It's exciting. Make hay while the sun is shining, because the pendulum swings, the wheel turns, and we've got a window here, and we've got to take advantage of it.
Yeah, it's a great point. You know what as I was listening to you say all that, Travis, I feel the momentum, right? Like, I think that's where you're getting to.
Mhm.
There's this momentum for our industry to get a lot of things done in the short amount of time that the American people have given us.
Yep.
I got to put a plug in too for your state, for the folks we work with that do such a great job. Your federal delegation, all right? Congresswoman Hageman, Senator Lummis, and Senator Barrasso, just absolute rock stars for our industry. So you guys have 3 members in Congress from Wyoming, and every single one of them is amazing, and we appreciate them so much. And all the work they did, I know you're in constant contact with them. We work with them a lot at our company. They just do a fantastic job. So you're very blessed. You got a lot of fun races coming up in Wyoming this year. We'll get back to that in a minute, but I did want to touch on the export side, because you brought that up. Wyoming's a landlocked state. We don't have access in Wyoming to a deep water port to get to that growing Asian seaborne market. And that would be absolutely vital, to your point. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing in Wyoming. There's a lot of momentum, it sounds like, for this export terminal with the National Energy Dominance Council, with DOE, with your federal delegation, and even many people in the State House that want to see how the state can help. Governor Gordon's brought it up. I know he's traveled overseas to talk about Wyoming coal. Tell us a little bit about maybe folks that haven't paid attention to the export conversation out west, because back east, we don't have the same problem. We have a lot of ports. Right. So tell us a little bit about the export side, because it's a big deal for Wyoming coal. It could put millions of tons online that aren't just being flooded here into the thermal market in the country.
Yeah. And, you take a step back in time, a decade ago, a little bit more than a decade ago, when the environment was quite different, and you had the major producers in Wyoming really looking at export terminals. You had a number of projects in Washington and Oregon, to take on this idea, and companies invested a lot of money in it. And, regretfully, politics being politics, and having those states the way they are, and they've got a lot of tools in their toolbox to block projects and they did. Sure. And they were very successful with it.
Yeah.
But when you talk about the future and markets, we've got the coal. The coal resource in Wyoming is tremendous. I think we've got roughly along the lines of 1.7 billion tons of recoverable coal right now, but the total reserve is trillions.
Yeah.
And
with an administration, Travis, that wants to lease coal. I think that's an important note. We're there now.
Yeah. And to leave that resource on the table, to me, it's sinful. It's a scandal.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of doing a segue here, Christian, because I want to highlight the importance of that deposit and the industry to the state of Wyoming. Mm-hmm. The industry, we're a very small state, as you mentioned. Yeah. 3 people in our delegation that punch well above their weight in Washington, D.C., but we're a small state.
Sure.
And we're reliant on our resources, and that coal resource, 5,000 really good paying jobs directly to the coal industry. Each one of those jobs supports another 3 in the service and supply sector. The industry pumps about $600 million into the state and local governments every year. And it's jobs, it's revenue, it's the Wyoming way of life. Yeah. So the importance of the industry to the state of Wyoming and to the people of Wyoming. I'm a Wyoming native. I'm born and raised in Wyoming. The industry supports our state, keeps the tax burden on our citizens low, and gives us our quality of life. So, going back to the export thing, is we need to continue to find more markets for our coal, and we've got to be able to get it because again, the resource is vast.
Yeah.
We need to continue to develop it and provide those things that keep our state running and our country running.
Yeah, it's vital to your state. And Travis, for those of you that are audio only listening to us, maybe while you're driving or working out, or if you're working out, listen to us. I don't know. We're not that motivating, but if you're listening to us and not watching us, Travis, of course, has his Wyoming Cowboys vest on. So when he talked about he's born and bred Wyoming, Travis literally wears it on his chest every single day. And knowing Travis for almost a decade, it is true. I don't think he has a non-branded Wyoming Cowboys piece of apparel that he wears. So it's great to hear about how important exports are. Us as a company at Eagle Summit, our CEO is engaged in conversations. We want to export our coal to these markets too. So we look forward to working with you guys as well at the Wyoming Mining Association as proud members of that group to hopefully get this done. And it's not just for our company, it's for the people of Wyoming. It's for all the companies that have mines in the Powder River Basin. We can all benefit by just having that coal market. So I appreciate all your thoughts on that, Travis.
Yeah. And we fly the flag.
Yeah.
We fly the flag wherever we go. The industry is a tremendous supporter of the University of Wyoming. It's our one state university. It's a land grant university. And they do great work there for us.
Yeah. School of
Energy Resources does great work. And, and that's another part of this conversation that you have to have, because the pendulum swings.
Yeah.
And if we're going to be using coal well into the future and keep it viable in the future, you've got to continue doing that research and development to use our coal resource more effective, more cleanly, and they do that work at the School of Energy's, finding new uses for our coal. We don't have to, just throw it into the boiler and burn it. There are other uses, whether you're talking about rare earths from coal, or whether you're talking about coal to products, carbon. That work is going on at the University of Wyoming right now, and at other places in the state of Wyoming. Again, because it's such a valuable and just magnificent resource, to not take advantage of it fully is scandalous. And we got to continue to do that. And my main thing is just to get it out of the ground. I want people. Sure. I want people working. I want that coal going to markets, and that's what we work on every day in the state of Wyoming.
Yeah, absolutely. And every industry needs to innovate, right? Talking about University of Wyoming and in the School of Energy Resources, the work they do. And there's, research labs and universities across the country doing great coal research, Wyoming being a leader in that. So you brought up the University of Wyoming. We're going to segue a little bit, very policy heavy this first part of the segment. But let's talk about the PR side, all the momentum for coal and what we're seeing. Let's talk a little bit. Many of you might have listened to the podcast back in October where Travis and I talked about the Cole and Cowboys game with Steve Reed, about that game, the PR. Whole entire game, the border war, was about Cole and Cowboys this year. And on the same night, University of West Virginia also did their coal game. So in two different places, in the two biggest coal states, we had college football teams wearing all black uniforms, coming out with miners, supporting the industry. President Trump recorded a video for the Wyoming-Colorado State game that was shown on the big screen. Got a huge applause, by the way, which was so great to hear. The whole crowd went crazy. And then the University of Wyoming went out, Travis's alma mater, and won the border war 28-0, wearing those great coal uniforms. But that just shows 5 years ago, folks, I don't know if we'd have seen that. Travis, I don't know if we'd have seen this, but the momentum and all the policy stuff we just talked about to lead in this. But tell us let's recap for those that might have listened to that podcast, the Cole and Cowboys. Yeah. Did you view it as success? Can we do it again next year?
Yeah. Well, and yes and yes.
Perfect. That's what we like to hear.
And it's a pretty good story, I think, that folks in Wyoming, in Governor Gordon's office, Governor Gordon's energy policy director, Randall Luthi, approached me in the state capitol during the legislative session last year. And he said, "Hey, what do you think about this?" And I said, "Oh, I love it. Let me see what the companies think." And the companies loved it. We pitched it to the University of Wyoming. And, we get great support from our university. It's not that necessarily that way in other parts of the country. But they said, absolutely, we're all in. We made a little deal. We got the uniforms in on time, and we made a really big production of it. And it was during our great rivalry game, the border war, Wyoming, Colorado State. And it couldn't have gone any better. It's the first time that the University of Wyoming has not worn their traditional brown and gold colors. And they got some pushback on that. You get we can't do this.
But I was at the game. I walked around. That Cole and Cowboys gear was flying off the shelves.
It was flying off the shelves, and it was it was a blackout game. Yep. So we had fans wearing black, and it was done on kind of a short timeline, and we really pulled it off. The Wyoming Cowboys played exceptional. And we say in Wyoming, it sucks to be a CSU Ram, and that's true. and it really did that night. And we'll be doing it again this fall. And we don't know who the opponent's going to be yet. But we had great weather, and it was great. But you bring up a good point, though, the public relations and getting your message out there, and reminding it's good to remind the people of Wyoming that your coal industry is it's your bedrock.
Absolutely.
Whether it's at the University of Wyoming, or whether it's your schools, your roads, your highways, it's your bedrock. And I think we become so accustomed to it that in Wyoming that we kind of forget once in a while. So it was a great opportunity to remind the people of Wyoming that, hey, your industry's still here. We've got your back. Jobs, revenue, and so it was great. And the public relations is important. And, that's why I appreciate what the American Coal Council does. And, Emily Arthen is back over there doing her work and getting ready to do a great convention. But, the effort that they're putting forth right now from the American Coal Council side to tell our story, it's huge. And it's it's very much appreciated. And I just came on the board of directors.
And
welcome. Thank you. And I'm very excited because this stuff is important, and we've got to continue to tell our story. And it's just I can't understate how important it is to get out and tell our message.
And that Cole and Cowboys game, I was lucky enough to attend it, and it was just a terrific game. It was such a celebration, same as it was down in Morgantown for the West Virginia game. So we really appreciate it. Our company operates in West Virginia and Wyoming, the two largest coal states, and we were so proud that both states, we have mines in, really honored the industry. But I got to say this, you talked about, whether you were in the stadium that night, both of those games were national broadcasts.
Yep.
So you had people turning in from all over the country.
Yep.
Right. And seeing, and they're like, oh, blackout uniforms. And it makes coal mainstream.
It does.
And I always tell the story. So for Christmas, I got my son an Xbox, and I got him NCAA football so he and I could play together. So I've kind of adopted the University of Wyoming. I'm a good Ohio guy, Cleveland sports fan, but I'm not, my college doesn't always make a lot of bowl games. So I've adopted Wyoming because I spend a lot of time there. I'm on your board. We sponsor Wyoming Athletics, and I'm playing Xbox with my 7-year-old. The blackout coal jerseys are on the Xbox game.
Isn't that great?
It is so cool.
Yeah.
Go play. If you or your kids have Xbox, you can play with the coal blackout game uniforms. What a cool experience. And it was just awesome. You can't understate the PR when we're still almost a quarter of the nation's energy mix today. To have that, it was an amazing thing. We could talk a lot about it.
Well, and I'll take a little segue there because something you brought up. 5-6 years ago, a decade ago, there's always been this competition between Eastern coal and Western coal.
Yeah.
There was a divide there, and he couldn't be here today, but my friend Chris Hamilton from the West Virginia Coal Association gave me a call about 6 years ago, and the conversation basically went like this: with Travis, we've got to heal this rift. We got to come together. We're one industry. We're under tremendous pressure from whether it was the Obama administration, the Biden administration. We got to come together and show a united front, and we have. And West Virginia was doing their game, that we were doing our game. The nation sees coal, but I think we've really turned a corner into presenting a united American coal front.
Absolutely.
And that's reflective in the work that you guys do in Washington, D.C. When they see coal coming, they don't just say, "Oh, here's Wyoming coal," and here and West Virginia and Kentucky have got to, monkey around with everything. We're a united American coal industry right now, and I think that's bearing tremendous fruit right now.
Yeah, and it's so true.
Yep.
Our company, we're a top 5 producer, and we mine in so many different states.
Yep.
So we want a united industry. I think most companies want a united industry, and that's also a great point. Travis, you mentioned you're coming on the American Coal Council board this week here at the Miami Coal Forum is going to be your first board meeting. Tell us about the collaboration, right? So, like to your point, you talked about you and Chris, who does just a tremendous job in West Virginia for our industry. You guys coming together. I've been in the industry a long time. And I haven't seen this unified of a public policy, PR collaboration in my entire time. So you're on the board of the American Coal Council now. Chris is also on the board of the American Coal Council. Now we're bringing these folks together. We have several groups. What does that collaboration mean to you in Cheyenne as the executive director of the Wyoming Mining Association? That's your day job. But when you come to American Coal Council, you meet with folks like Emily, you meet with all the companies that are members of both groups and all of your peers in the state leadership. What does that do for you? And how, when you go back to Cheyenne, do you take some of those practices in play?
Well, I think collaboration is key. And, we talk about buzzwords, collaboration, working together and stuff.
I'm being very corporate right now.
But it is true. I'll break it down at the state level. Our industry couldn't do what we do without our state partners. And, you talk about the University of Wyoming. The University of Wyoming right now is under tremendous budget pressure right now with folks wanting to reduce their budget. Not sure that's the right way to go. We work very closely with our friends at the Wyoming Energy Authority. So, to solve problems, to do what's best for the industry. And then at the national level, we coal producing states have got to work together to present that united front, that when you go in and you talk to a Wyoming delegation, a Kentucky delegation, an Ohio delegation, say, I'm just not here advocating for Kentucky coal. We're here advocating for the entire American coal industry.
Yeah.
And again, I'm starting to repeat myself a little bit here, but the fruits of that are starting to show. In a way that I don't think they have been shown before. When coal comes up to Capitol Hill, and it's not just individual states. And I think that's something that needed to change, and it has. And again, it's bearing fruit, I think, in some of the direction we're going.
That united front. Being, we're still a huge industry in this country, to the point where I said we're a quarter of the nation's energy mix. Our company has metallurgical coal. Think of all the coal we're shipping to build infrastructure and steel across the globe. We matter so much. And for so many years, I think it was kind of a given, right? Like, we matter so much, maybe don't have to tell our story. Well, we're in an age now, too, with technological advances and social media, Travis, to where we have to tell our story. We got to go on the social media. We got to hit people where they're getting their news. And so many people, I mean, even my parents, right? They're in their 60s.
Yeah.
And my dad turned 70 this year, but he's getting a lot of his news on his, feed on his phone or his social media. I mean, we all do, right? Like, I might read the Wall Street Journal in the morning, but I flip through Twitter religiously and follow folks because that's where news breaks. And I know you do too. So we got to get people where it's at. We can't sit on our laurels anymore. We got to get the message out because our opponents do every single day. Right. And that's why this collaboration at the American Coal Council meeting here this week in Miami is important. The work you're doing with America's coal groups and collaboration is so vital, because bad ideas don't just start in Cheyenne or start in Charleston, West Virginia against our industry. They're going to go to both coal basins. They're going to go to the Illinois basin. They're going to go to Alabama, and having meetings with your peers. Oh, wait, that's happening in Charleston. Well, man, I want to stop that before it happens in Cheyenne. Or that's happening in Cheyenne. I got to stop that before it's happening.
Right.
It's just so vital in having that one industry. So tell us more about, like, when you see all of these meetings and you come to them, as we fast forward to 26, 27, let's maybe shift it a little bit. What do you see as the challenges, right? So when you sit in these meetings, what are you hearing from your peers or from your perspective? What are some challenges we as an industry need to
work? I think that's a great point. And I love, I haven't watched news on TV for probably a decade.
Sure.
I get my news on Twitter.
Yeah.
A lot of times just randos on Twitter. That's where I get it from. But some of the social media messaging that you're seeing from like the American Coal Council, National Mining Association, Count on Coal.
Absolutely.
And, the little campaign that Consul started a couple of years ago. That stuff gets out there, and
Coal Hard Truth.
Coal Hard Truth, and you click on that, you watch the little 20-second video.
It's fantastic.
You get a little, and I think you can tell that they're successful, because if you look at some of the comments, they're not all positive comments. So people that aren't necessarily, oh, here's a coal article, I'm a coal guy, I'm going to read a coal article. There are people that aren't. It's the message is getting out. And so I think that goes right into what you were saying as to what we've got to, going forward. We can't rest on our laurels. We've got to keep working. We've got to continue to push the message, and always keep in the back of your mind that the pendulum swings back. I'm working in the political arena for almost 25 years now, and I think I've seen at least 3 permanent majorities. Every time you win, you think, oh man, it's all smooth sailing from here, and then 2 years, 4 years later, you're right back where you were. So I think you just got to keep that in mind. And there are a lot of things that are just out of our control. But while we've got the momentum, it's great to have a tailwind rather than a headwind. And 90% of my career at WMA and working in the coal industry has been working against headwinds. We've finally got a tailwind now. Let's take some of these gains that we've made. Let's cement them, whether that's statutorily in DC or in Wyoming. And, so that when that pendulum does swing back, we're a little bit more in a better position to stay protected for when the pendulum springs back again.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, one of the what we should be focusing on for the next couple of years. And, like I say, you got the tailwinds. Let's take advantage of it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Pendulums do swing, and we don't know what's going to happen in, the midterms this year, or what's going to happen in 2028 with the White House. I think for all of us, we want to really hope that we see more pro-coal people getting elected, but you do have to insulate yourself.
Yep.
And I came into the coal industry during the Obama years when, quite frankly, things were really, really bleak. And nobody wants to return to that, but we have to be prepared if we get an unfriendly person sworn in on January 20th of 2029. Yep. It's what none of us want. We're all going to work very hard to have whoever that may be, regardless, I'd say regardless of party, but there's pretty much only one party that supports coal. I hate to say it, but it is true. Mm-hmm. We would love for that not to be the case, and we would welcome any folks on the Democrat side that want to support our industry to please do. But when that pendulum, we got to be insulated, because we can't have what happened during the Obama and during the Biden years, where we were struggling so much to get the message out and to fight back. Because I'll tell you what, we have to be aggressive because our opponents are aggressive. To use the football analogy, you can't score playing defense. Well, I guess the Seahawks did in the Super Bowl, if you all watch that week. So you can score a little bit, but it doesn't win you the whole game. You got to score offensive points, and that's what we're doing. We're putting these points on the board. We talked about 25. You talked about 26. We talked coal exports during this conversation. Put the points on the board and insulate yourself in case it does shift, because you're right. We've all seen it. I remember 2010, we elected, 82 House freshmen. My former boss, Bill Johnson, great friend of Cole, shout out to him, got elected with a huge group of freshmen. We're like, well, we could never lose the majority. Well, we sure did, a couple years later. And that's how it works.
And I think that's just something that, we've got as we're working in today's environment, we have to keep that in mind. But the thing we've got going for us, though, too, and we haven't really touched on it, is projected demand for energy in this country. 3 years ago, 4 years ago, we're not talking about projected energy demand with artificial intelligence, with data centers, and electrification of vehicles, or just general electrification. This country's not producing enough power for the future. We're just not. And that's one of the things, that's one of the factors, I think, that really plays well for us is, hey, we've got an energy demand problem. Yeah. And coal's right up there in the front. We're going to need more coal. And so we've got that going for us. We've kind of turned the corner, or we're turning the corner on this narrative that, we'll just put up more windmills and more solar and we'll power our country like that. Again, like I say, that's bullshit. Yeah. And we're finding that out, and it's starting to resonate with people. And, the demand question is not going to go away. administration can change, a Congress can change, but the demand is not going to go away. We need coal. This country needs coal.
You're so right. Energy realities, Travis,
Yep,
to your point.
absolutely.
There's a reality. It
Yep.
doesn't matter. Policies can go this
Yep.
way, but the reality of we need more megawatts and electrons on the
Right.
grid than we even need now
Yep.
with data centers, AI. We're only using the more power, population's growing. That is a great point. There's realities. And you're seeing it reflected in those policies because even our opponents, whether that be in our state houses or in Washington or just the NGOs that hate our industry, they've actually been a lot quieter, especially during Winter Storm Fern, right? Where you see all this. So to your point, energy realities are starting to hit policy.
They are. And I love that energy reality. I really like that term because, you know, for the last decade, we've kind of been complacent to where, oh, we're going to put all this unreliable energy on the grid. And the grid's in shaky shape right now, as everybody well knows. And you have populations around the country in blue areas, in urban areas that have become accustomed to rolling brownouts and rolling blackouts because we're not producing enough power. That's third world stuff. That's not America. And, you know, American citizens, I don't care whether you're in downtown Miami, downtown Cleveland, Los Angeles, or if you're in rural Texas, every American has the right to reliable power. I mean, I think that's, you know, that should be in our Bill of Rights. You have a right to reliable power because without power, without electricity, you're living in the 1800s. And we've seen the results of this folly of putting so much wind and solar on the grid to where people are, you know, they're getting used to, again, rolling brownouts. Turn your air conditioning off at night in 90-degree weather. I mean, it's insane. It's third world stuff, and it's starting to resonate. I think people are starting to wake up. And energy reality, that's a great term.
Well, and there's no amount of PR we can do that matches the actual.
Sometimes it has to hit.
You're seeing it, Travis, right? Because we're just not hearing. I mean, I honestly, and I've been following this. Obviously, I'm in the industry for 15 years, right? So it's like I follow all the narratives. You're not hearing as much about climate change anymore. You're not seeing all these folks on the left running on because they know, number one, the American people want affordable, reliable electricity, number one. They don't really care if it's from coal, a lot of them, or if it's from other sources out there, but they want that, and our industry provides that. So you're not hearing as much about climate change. You're not having a huge delegation go to these COP conferences over the globe to talk about it because the realities are hitting that we're only getting more people. We're only going up in demand, as you talked about. So that's where we're at now. We're winning the debate because everything we've said, we always say it is such a, you hear it a million times in every coal conference, coal keeps the lights on. But it's so true. It really does. And now with the demand finally catching up to where we've done, where bad policies have put us on this, you know, you said it, the grid strain. And we see it. So we're really being proven right. And no amount of PR can do that. So we just need to continue to tell our story.
And you know, we're fighting our fight here in the United States, but you look globally. And global coal use and coal production. I mean, coal ain't going away. And coal, and you know, when you look at countries like India, like China, Africa, those countries want what we have in the United States. They want our standard of living. They want our lifestyle. You know, they say, oh, we don't want to be like they do. They want to live like an American does. And the way they're going to get there is the same way we got here, and that was through coal-fired power, through affordable, reliable coal-fired power. So the rest of the world knows it. We know it deep down. We just have to remember it as a country, and we are. And you know, going forward in the in the foreseeable future with that demand, you're going to need coal. So that, you know, I take solace in that, is that we can't power our country without coal. You know, we should do things right and use more coal and have more electricity, and that's kind of what we have to do and do our job. And Emily at the American Coal Council and everybody, all of our other friends, is to, you know, continue to support our industry and tell our story that, you know, coal powers America.
No, and it matters so much. We're gonna close here in a few seconds, Travis. But I appreciate it all your thoughts. It's so exciting. We got the Miami Coal Forum. We're gonna kick it off here actually as soon as we're done this podcast. I know this is gonna come out later, but right after we leave here, we're gonna go. Travis is doing a terrific panel tomorrow talking about state and federal policies, much of what you're listening to now. 2026 is gonna be a great year. I'm really excited. So we're gonna have a great conference this year. Travis, thank you for coming down from Cheyenne, number one. We know how important it is. Thanks for all you do for companies like ours in the State House. You know, what you do every day matters. Like you said, public policy affects all of us.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to hear from so many folks here at the American Coal Council this week. We hear so many folks at your meeting in Wyoming because you brought up a really good point. I want to close with this because I always want to talk about this. I tell my family, I tell my friends back in Ohio that may not be in the coal industry how much we do matter in employment. You brought up all the ancillary jobs, subsidiary jobs that come from the coal industry. We're going to hear from railroads. We're going to hear from coal traders. We're going to hear from equipment manufacturers, people developing state-of-the-art technologies to help the mines through AI and other. We're going to hear from all these folks that are going to attend this conference here in Miami and show how big an industry and how much we matter. We're a highly technological industry. I don't think people understand that. We're always innovating. So you brought up ancillary jobs, Travis. I can't tell you how big a deal that is. And we all are in this together. And we have a huge time to really make sure all of those jobs get tied together, secured for the next 15 to 20 years. So we're really excited about this conference. Travis, I'm going to let you close. Tell us, finish up.
Well, I think you did a great job there, Christian. And, at the end of the day, from Cheyenne, Wyoming, in our coal communities in Gillette and Rock Springs and Kemmer, at the end of the day, that's why I go to work every day.
Yeah.
It's for those people. It's for the men and women that are out there every day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, doing the hard work, putting in the time, rain or shine, to develop and produce and deliver the resources that we need to power our country. And that I take a lot of pride in that. And those folks that are out there doing the hard work, they're the ones that we really do this for.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Travis, thank you so much for all you do.
Yeah,
thank you
absolutely.
for traveling here. Thank you for joining our board of American Coal Council. Your insight is going to be so valuable. Western and Eastern coal coming together and everywhere in between.
Yep.
Travis, thanks for joining us. Thanks to everybody who's listening to this podcast today. You're going to hear many more that were broadcasted right here from the Miami Coal Forum. If you're listening to this, you probably care about the coal industry, so we want to see you next year in 2027 if you weren't able to attend. Join the American Coal Council. Come to our conferences, hear from great people like Travis, from leaders across the industry, talk about what you're doing. So, Travis, thank you so much. Safe travels back to Cheyenne, Wyoming. Let's have a great conference.
Cowboys and coal, go Pokes.
I knew he'd finish with that. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for tuning in to Coal Nation, the official podcast of the American Coal Council. Our mission is to share coal's story and showcase its critical role in powering our economy and supporting our way of life. If you enjoyed today's conversation, be sure to subscribe. The American Coal Council represents members across the entire coal supply chain and advocates tirelessly for our vital industry. There is strength in numbers, and we'd love for you to be part of the conversation. By joining ACC, you gain exclusive access to the latest industry developments, a voice in our work that can benefit your business, and incredible networking opportunities. To learn more, visit www.americancoalcouncil.org. Together, we are shaping the future of coal, and it's exciting. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.